Hello again. This is Foghorn with an installment of Operations Academics for the 28th of March, 2950 or 2020 if you are stuck in the past. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen. If you are new to the Aurora Republic or visiting for the first time, let me start by saying welcome. We're glad to have you with us and would love to hear more from you if you are interested in hearing more from us. We are a lawful good organization focused on roleplay, exploration, and social interactions, and are currently active in recruiting on Spectrum and Discord. Quick announcements. New member Bruce 11, welcome to the org, and everybody say hello to him next time you see him in chat. He also went immediately into Star Citizen with us, went flying around, went FPSing a bit, and got rid of his immigrant tag right off the bat, and is also a brand new citizen, full citizen. Second announcement, Tin Man 1 has changed his name to Shipwreck, so everybody, we are back to being a single Tin Man organization. No more duplicate name there, so thank you very much, Tin Man 1, for being a good Joe about that. Citizen Con is still on for 10th of October in Los Angeles, People's Republic of California, or People's Democratic Republic of California. And the full org meeting that went on last week is should be automatically already up on YouTube. The private link is in our Discord up in the admin comms area. You can find the link and go watch it if you missed it. So we are streaming this on Twitch. If you have any questions during the presentation for Mining 101, then please do come up in Discord, unmute, and ask me in real time so that folks can hear it. I'm also monitoring the chats. So if I see something there, I will repeat the question. Tonight, we're talking about mining 101, the basics. For those, we tried this 2 weeks ago, and I had some technical difficulties when the computer that I was using decided to shut down all of the front side USB ports. So I couldn't get to the video that I had prepared for it. So we're going to do it again now. Last week, obviously, we had the full org meeting and went straight into flying. Okay, so Mining 101, basically we're going to go over the equipment that's used, how to do scanning for said minables, surface mining, specifically vehicle and by hand, and then where you can sell it. So the things that you can use to split rocks with hard light. Right now, as the state of the game, which is 3.8.2, Alpha 3.8.2, and waiting with bated breath for Alpha 3.9 to come out of Evocati and go into Wave 1 PTU and beyond. So as it stands in Alpha 3.8.2, there's two mining capable ships. The first one, the solo one, is the Musashi Industrial Starlight Concern Prospector, which is a single ship or single seat, solo mining platform, and pretty good one at that. The Argo Mole is a crewed three mining laser at the same time, mining platform plus a pilot and a co, so it's could be up to a 5-man crew. And then the RSI Orion has been concepted but is not in game yet and won't be for the foreseeable future. It's not even on the roadmap. But the RSI Orion is massive, capital ship sized mining platform. Just go chew through entire asteroid fields, spit out the junk, keep the good stuff, and make that Donero as fast as you can. You can also mine by hand using the Grey Cat Pyro multi-tool with the Orbit mining attachment. So if you are thinking about doing that, make sure you get both, not just the multi-tool, you got to get the mining attachment as well. There's also a cutter, a plasma cutter attachment. That won't do you any good for mining. And then MacFlex rucksack is what you're looking for as far as torso armor, because it has an integrated backpack as it stands right now. The depending on what the armor is that you're wearing over top of your undersuit, some of them have at least some sort of storage capacity. So if you don't have the MacFlex rucksack, you can still do some hand mining, but you'll find out that you'll fill up those pockets pretty quick. The MacFlex rucksack is the dedicated like backpack style that all the miners wear, so they can hold I want to say 60 rocks, 60 units. 60 gemstones when they're mining by hand. And we'll show that off here in a minute. All right, so this all starts off with scanning. And I'm going to show a video real quick of scanning. You get into scanning in your prospector and or mole by the tab key. And I will just, let's see here, let me first make sure I got the volume way down here, and I'll just talk over top of the video because it's just me flying around scanning. But so this is from the cockpit of a prospector. I'm down on Yella near Deacons, and when you kick open tab, it opens up into this scanning. If you hold either the weapon 1 left left mouse button, that will charge up that ping and you can send it out. You'll notice that has a little bit of a cooldown, and when you get a return on something, then it flashes back and creates little holographic boxes around where there's potential stuff. When you get in close enough, it'll do a quick categorization on its own, and will put a rock icon on top of it, or a little gemstone icon if it's one of those hand mine animals that you can land the ship, get out, and go use your hand mining tool on it. Occasionally the server gets a little cranky and won't recognize that you're pointing right at the rock right off the bat. As you can see here, I'm having to kind of drive in and then pull back and get it and keep pinging on it a couple of times to get it to recognize that, hey, there's a rock right there. And when it highlights yellow and you start seeing that little loopy 3 ants circling the center, that's when you can start doing a deep scan. Let me back this up a little bit. Okay, so the deep scan part, when you on your mouse, when you the right mouse button charges up that ping, like you see is charging around the circle on the right now, going clockwise. That's being done by holding down the right mouse button and then letting go of it when you're ready to send the ping. You'll notice that I don't charge it up all the way. I only let it go to about a third or a half, just so that the cooldown gets down and I can re-ping before the holograms of where I'm getting returns from time out and go away. So it helps zone in. Now the deep scan, this bar up top that says scan progress, that is done with the left mouse button, and you can't do that until you get this, like I said, those 3 ants right there that go marching around the circle. It means you're within range and it's focused and it sees something for you to do a deep scan on. So you hold down the left button and let that bar fill up, and it starts popping up information. As you can see there, this one has gold and aluminum. It's 8,120 kilograms. I go, okay, great, but I didn't like too much of what I saw there. You'll see you'll get question marks if it hasn't identified what that is yet. Obviously, I'm within visual range and it's daylight, so I can see that that's a rock. The scanner will catch up to me here in a minute and reclassify that. You can see that I'm ahead of the server. The server lag in it is waiting to tell it that, hey, we're within range. Okay, so finally in this, I do a scan here. Boop, and you'll see that this has agricium and aluminum. And once you get that full bar, it gives you all of the information that the scanner can tell you about this. Now, this is the for the next slides that I'm going to show you. We're going to talk here about what these numbers mean. Over here on the right for contents, and then a little bit over on the left for how hard it's going to be to crack that particular rock. So we'll leave that right here and go back to there. All right. So this is what we were just looking at. You'll see that the agricium says for its composition, it says 3.21 and 28.09. And then for aluminum, you'll say it says 8.22 and 71.91. And so I'm going to tell you what those numbers mean. Those are percentages. The first number in each one of those lines is the concentration of the above element. So the agricium, you have 3.21% agricium, but that's not throughout the entire rock. The second number is how much of that rock is at that 3.21% concentration. So 28.09% of the rock's mass is at 3.21% agricium. The other 71.91% of the rock's mass is at 8.22% aluminum. So that number is a percentage of concentration, but within that percentage of the rock. So in other words, about 1/3 of this rock is at 3.21% agricium. About 2/3 of this rock is at 8.22% aluminum. Now, using that, if you want to take the time to do the math, okay, so here's this rock in front of you that we measured to be 6,589.6 kilograms of mass. So what that means is that those numbers on the right there, the 28.09 and 71.91%, divide that rock like such. So the part that's the concentration of agricium is in that 28.09% of the rock is 1,851 and 2/100 kilograms at that 3.21%, and 4,738.58 kilograms for the aluminum. So those, you'll notice, will always, regardless of how many different items are scanned to be within that rock, that means that those are the sum of those percentages on the right will always add up to 100%. Okay, so within that chunk, then within those sub chunks are the further sub chunks of those percentages. So 3.21% agricium in that smaller half, which actually comes out to be 59.42 kilograms of agricium, and on the right half, 389.51 kilograms of aluminum, which are actually much smaller than, it's a much smaller amount than if you just simply took the 3.21 and multiplied it percent and took that percentage of the total mass. So you can't do that because it doesn't work. So in other words, out of that 6,589 kilogram rock, 6,140 of that rock is inert materials, and the real name of the game is trying to keep as much of the inert materials out of your cargo hold as possible, because you can make money with anything that comes in that's valuable, and we'll talk more to some gradations thereof in a second. But the biggest, it's a wasting space game, or trying to avoid the wasting of space by filling stuff up with inert materials. Now, granted, the Prospector was originally concepted with a system to be able to eject the inert material overboard so that you can just keep good stuff and the valuable stuff. That does not exist in the game yet. They've also stopped talking about it, so I'm suspicious that it may never come, even though it was promised. But we'll see where that happens in the future. All right, so in other words, this original 3.21% that it told us, if you actually take it against the total mass, that entire rock actually only has 0.9% of it is agricium and 5.9% is aluminum, versus what was actually displayed to you over there in the green rounded rectangle. When you take those percentages against the total mass versus those fractions. All right, so once you do find a rock that you go, okay, I'm going to go ahead and split that out, break it up and mine it, then we're going to go into fracturing. So once you found a rock that you're going to go ahead and split, I went ahead and chose to go ahead and split this rock, even though I just showed you what the percentages of what we can expect is. When you activate the mining rig portion of the Prospector, you do via the M as in Mike key. We'll bring that up. It usually comes up in fracture mode, and there's two modes, fracture and extraction. Then the left side of what we originally scanned gets transferred over in here. So over on the left, where it has the mass in blue, 6,589.6, you'll notice goes up into the upper right corner of your mining HUD. The instability 1.46 comes in on the inside of the left side data, and then the purple here where it says power transfer resist is 0.33. That comes over here to resistance. And you'll notice that these numbers are doubled. The right-hand one that's closer to the words is what the raw instability and resistance of that rock is. The left hand is the effective once you start hitting it with the laser. This I'm using as a Helix 1, which is probably the best mining laser at the moment for size 1 on a Prospector. It's an upgrade. It's a 108,000 Spaso upgrade. So if you're going into solo prospector mining, then save your shekels. And then the last one, you'll see this kind of teal colored or cyan colored optimal power window, you'll see is 0.33 to 0.5. You'll notice that this green zone is what that refers to, and you'll notice that 0.33 is at about the 1/3 point of the bar, and 0.5 is at about the halfway. So that's telling you where the left and right side of the green zone is, and of course in the red zone is over. So before I play the video and talk over that, the name of the game is you're controlling this laser throttle. If you haven't remapped it anywhere, then it is with the mouse wheel. You'll run that up to whatever power level you think you need, and if you can get enough power going into the rock, then the rock will start heating up, and you can control how fast that heats up or not by flying that laser throttle with the mouse wheel. Your idea is to get the rock energy level up into the green and then hold it in the green without going over. While you are holding that level in the green, then this fracturing sensor will start filling up, and when it gets to 100%, the rock will crack. If you go over into the red zone, then the fracture sensor will start coming down, and the overcharge center will start coming up. Overcharge in a rock is how much of a potential bomb you're turning this rock into. You can blow yourself up by overcharging a rock with too much juice, with too much energy. So if you see it and you either shut your laser off or you wheel the throttle down low enough to get it to start cooling, when it comes out of the red and back into the green, then you'll see that the overcharge sensor will stop climbing and will slowly start dissipating over time as the rock cools. The fracture sensor will start climbing again while it comes down into the green. If you continue to let it fall, the rock energy level fall, it'll come down out of the green, and then the fracture sensor will also start falling. If the fracture sensor makes it to 100% and the rock breaks when you have some amount of overcharge, the bigger the overcharge is, the more that rock will come apart explosively versus getting it to just do this nice little crack where all the pieces just kind of either stay or fall right in amongst themselves. However much overcharge you have when the fracture sensor gets to 100 is how big that thing's going to go off like a bomb. So you can kill yourself. The last part of the HUD is this energy transfer graph, which is in the upper left. This thing will be going up and down and up and down and up and down pretty crazily. The resistance is how much of the energy that you're hitting the rock with is actually making it into the rock, and that will basically be how high up the graph it needs to go to be able to start building energy in the rock. The instability is how much of this up-down motion you will see. So if a lower instability number, then it'll just absorb the energy nice and flat, and you'll get this fairly more flat line. If it's a higher instability number, then the more that the line will look like a jagged sawtooth kind of thing. All right, so it actually takes a lot more to talk to than it takes to show. So I'm going to flip back over here to the video and let it go here. So you'll see me, I go, boop, kick it over into mining mode. The mining rig comes out, start with the fracture mode, which it starts down at 1/10 of 1% on the laser throttle just by turning it on. And then because I know this is a 6,500 kilogram rock and it's got pretty decent instability, I'm going to go ahead and just go right to 100%. And then remember that the 1/r² law applies to laser beams. That the closer you get, the more power that you're putting down the beam actually makes it onto the target. So you'll notice that now over on the left side, you'll see the 1.46 stability actually shows 0.073. That's because of that Helix 1 mining laser gives you a 50% debuff on the instability, and it gives you I think like a 20% debuff on the resistance. So it helps debuff that rock so that you can get more bang for the buck. So that's why you saw me fly in. It was to get more power until I because I'm at 100% throttle, I can't get any more throttle. So now I finally start seeing the rock energy start come up off the wall. So I go, okay, this is close enough. The other thing you'll notice at this point is up here on the upper right of my shields, I hit the number 8 key on my number pad, which told the system to move shields forward. So instead of having a nice even shield bubble, I've got 150 instead of 100% all the way around. I have 150% up in the front shields, and have taken the left, right, and back shields down to 83%, just in case I screw this up and it blows up with me. I hopefully have a little more shielding up front. So you can see the rock energy is coming on up here as I just let it cook. Let it cook. There are some extra things you can do. You can go up into your systems menu and you can overclock the laser, which will give you a little more power down the beam. That I've seen help. But pretty much it's still just a waiting game until you get it up here into the green zone. Now, how fast this jumps up into the green zone, you'll see the fracture centers start going in, is how fast you're and how much you're going to have to reduce your laser throttle. I typically, as a rule of thumb, I immediately, the second, if it's coming up at a good clip into the green zone, the second it goes into the green zone, I wheel back to about 50%. This time I only went back to about 75% because I was kind of playing it along with how fast I saw the rock energy level coming up. You saw it when it got to 100%, the laser shut off on its own and the rock cracked. And with me having no overcharge or anything in it, you see it just kind of cracked and just kind of fell apart all in the same spot, which was pretty darn cool. So at this point, you're pretty much just moving the pipper around on the different pieces of the rock and letting the sensor tell you how much is there. I've got this in a fast forward mode. So I'm just looking at all the different pieces, and you'll see that everything's pretty much aluminum for that one. That's where all that agresium was. And if the rock is still being highlighted in orange, that means it's still too big, 707 kilograms, for you to be able to vacuum up yet. So it means you got to break it down even further. If it goes purple, then that means it's small enough to ready for extraction. You can go into the Hoover mode, which I'll show next. So boop. So I sit here, and now because it's a much smaller chunk of rock, it's only 700. You notice I'm not immediately going to 100% throttle. I'm easing the throttle up slowly because it's my laser's the same size, but the rock mass is a lot smaller. So you're not going to need as much rock energy to get it to start, or laser throttle to get the rock energy to start moving. So don't just immediately jam up to a massive number. Kind of ease your way into it, and you got to fly that up there. Now here I keep using the rule of thumb of halves. So I was up at 24. So the second I got it up into the green, you saw me wheel it back to 12 and then see what I got. And then now I'm looking around. Now you see as these highlight edge in purple, you'll start seeing, oh, okay, so there's one I hit, I believe it's the center, I believe it's the middle mouse wheel button. No, it's the right mouse button to switch between fracture and extraction mode. And then, of course, the left button fires a laser or fires the extraction mode. So that's how I switched over real quick. And then there's nothing to do here. You're not flying anything here. It's just on, off, boop, and it sucks up the rock. So this next thing, I'll look at this rock right up above it, right there. I'll see a purple one, and it'll tell me it's, I think, inert materials, or it's just 5% aluminum, which I don't care about. And then you'll see there's another one that's highlighted white kind of behind it, and I can't get the sensor to see it because this purple one's in front. So I go back to fracture mode, and I'm just going to melt this rock. I don't want to pick up that aluminum because it's only 5% of 162 kilograms. So I'm just going to melt it, just vaporize the thing. Boop. And now I got it out of my way. And I'll notice, there's 105 kilograms, 100% agresium. That's a good little rock chunk right there. So boop, suck that up and then go about my day. All right. Boing. Okay. Now, selling. Taken back to the Monet. Oh, I forgot forgot to do the hand mining stuff. All right, so here I went back to looking around to find something I could hand mine to show you. And, oops, come on. There we go. And so I found this. Book. It looks like gemstones. I get in close enough to scan it, and holy frijoles, it's hadenite, which is the best of the three. You have dolomine, you have aphrite, and you have hadenite in order from least to most. So dolomine is the least valuable of it, and it's the most explosive as far as being hard to extract without blowing yourself up. And oh, by the way, when you're hand mining, you don't have shields around you. So if these things go off in your face, it's usually fatal. The hadenite's the best. It's the most valuable. Aphrite's worth picking up. Hadenite's worth picking up. I skipped dolomine completely, but that's just my technique because it usually likes to go off in your face. Okay, so I actually forgot to equip my mining device here. So I'm right here. Go to the utility slot on your personal manager. Equip the tool. Boom. And then make sure you get the orbit mining attachment as well. Bink. It hangs down here off your leg. This is the rucksack that I'm wearing. And then you call it up with number 4 on your normal keyboard. Come in here. Now, when you have when you aim down sights the same way you do with the weapon, that goes into this mode here. You get these 2 little holograms up the right and left side. The right side is the scanning side. That'll go up and it'll tell you a tadnite. How much is it? There's 1/10 of a kilogram here, which means there should be like 10 rocks come out of it if you don't melt any of them. It'll tell you the instability is 1.6 and the resistance is 0.5. The left side is now a combination of your rock energy, your fracture, and your overcharge all in one display. Your laser throttle, it works exactly the same as the Prospector does. The laser throttle graph is on the back, so I'm doing it with my mouse wheel. You see I go right up to 100%. It takes a long time with the hand laser for it to climb itself, get up into this green zone. Now that it's up in the green zone, I start flying it back, flying the throttle back, and you'll notice that the green zone that you're holding the line in is also a bar graph going from right to left that is now filling up because it's also your fracture sensor. The overcharge works exactly the same way as well. So you just sit here and just keep flying the laser throttle on the back of the mining tool. And you'll see I even touched the overcharge a little bit, and I just turned it all off, and then it came back out of overcharge, and when it finally broke. And now you have these pieces down here. Now it's all just put the mining tool away while long holding R to holster it, and now just start picking everything up with F. You can either hold F or you can just short click F, and you'll go pick it up. And then pull out, go to the next rock, wash, rinse, and repeat. All right, so selling Monet, which again, we'll go back to the video. Boop. The next thing is like, once you're all done, you've sucked up all the stuff. The cargo capacity's gone to 100%. By the way, for the Prospector, you have 32 SCU of cargo capacity, which is 3,200 stock units or selling units of material, and it's 50 kilograms per stock unit. So in other words, you have your 3,200 units is 1,600 kilograms is the capacity of your Prospector. Go back to your nearest port of sale. Here, because I was mining on Yella, I come back into Port Olisar and then go inside. And when you go inside to the place to mine it, it's on the sides, in the side hallways beside the admin desk, not the commodity kiosks. This will allow you to sell whatever out of your Prospector. You can see just that little run just to show you I managed to get 44,000 out of it, and still notice that the inert materials is the bane of your existence right now when you're doing this. So there's 44 grand, and then to sell the stuff out of your personal inventory, that is done at the commodities. Go to sell, go to personal inventory. I only picked up enough hadnite to only kind of half fill the sack, so I only got 29, where you can actually, I think the capacity is 60. All right, whole lot of blah blah. That was it in a nutshell. Questions? Let me look up here because I haven't looked up in a while. Shouldn't the Prospector have a button to calculate value of mass? That would be great, Sale. It doesn't have that, but it would be great if it did. There is a spreadsheet that I saw where somebody did that, where if you're maybe running 2 monitors on your computer, you could have that spreadsheet open on another monitor, look at a rock, throw those numbers in really quick, and it would go, and it spits out, hey, by the way, that rock, if you were able to get everything, would be worth this much. When landing the Prospector to hand mine, turn the engines off to prevent the ship from drifting. I did do that. I don't know if it showed up in the video because I kind of had that on fast forward. Yeah, I leave the ship powered on, but the engine's off when I land to jump out to hand mine. I also use the nose of the ship. Sometimes now that they've added some weather effects, particularly on Yella and stuff, some of these like blizzards and things can kind of get pretty disorienting. You'll see, because you have the HUD helping you out while you're in the Prospector, you can see the symbols where stuff is at. You're like, okay, it's right over there, it's right over there. And then you jump out and you're like, oh shit, the perspective's a little different now that I'm walking around on my own 2 feet. Where did that rock go? And you don't have a HUD in your visor that shows you any of the mining data. So as a technique, I use the nose of the Prospector And I fly up there, and when I land, I put those mining rocks like right underneath, directly in front, and like underneath where the mining rig would be hanging if I had deployed the mining rig. So straight out the nose, 5 feet, and that way I can jump out the side of the prospector and get walked out there even in a blizzard and go, okay, there they are, rock, 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 and get to work. Gravity works. I have cracked a few of these hand minables up on the side of a hill, and then had to chase them all the way down to the bottom of the hill. I've had a couple when I found like a mother lode of hadnite, went and cracked them all without hardly picking any up because they all just went sliding down to the base of the hill, and then at the end walked all the way down to the base of the hill where I had parked the prospector, and most of them had actually ended up around the landing gear of the prospector, which is pretty funny. I picked up as many as I could find by eye, and then I jumped in the prospector, jumped up and kind of flew around and figured out where they were that way. Luckily, the sun had finally come up, so it got a lot easier to spot them, but used the prospector's HUD symbology to pick out where they were and go pick them all up, which was time consuming, but it was fun. I had nothing else to do because it's 3.8.2. Anywho, any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. Thank you guys very much for watching. Appreciate it. This wraps up this installment of Academics with Foghorn. Hope you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions I didn't answer, please feel free to contact me via email, Discord, Spectrum, comment section below. I'll answer it as soon as I see it, best of my ability. Oh, by the way, Simon Says is also probably one of our master miners here in the org, so he has also kind of put his hand up and said, yeah, I'll teach anybody who wants to learn. So, you can look me up. I do a lot of mining. Lisa does a bit of mining. Seo does a bit of mining. McQueen does a lot of mining. And Simon does a ton of mining. So any of us would be more than happy to lend you a prospector if you want to go play with it or any of the like. All right. If you guys are members or visitors, please hit those follow and subscribe buttons as appropriate and leave us a comment. We do read them all. And any feedback you're kind enough to give us always does help as we're striving to improve our content. You can find out more information at our website, which is aurorarepublic.space, or on Spectrum at robertspaceindustries.com/org/aurorarep. I'll see you next time. It's Foghorn signing off, wishing you a pleasant remainder of your morning, afternoon, and or evening, and thank you very, very much for watching.